Department of Construction and Land Use stated and wrote a letter to me and the mayor, Gold Seal, etc., and then told all the people in the houses there is no graveyard on Beacon Hill. None. There isn't any. And I'm going, well, there's a lot of gravestones. There's a lot of records of people being buried. Why do you deny it? And what's the purpose of denial? When I did my master's on this, and I have proof. I diligently recovered the records. Well, we didn't bulldoze it. Well, I have a piece of paper from the daily engineering report for Seattle on the sewer project that states specifically that on All Souls Day, Day of the Dead, November 2nd, 1987, you bulldoze the stones. It's in the record. I have the paper, Oh, well, yeah, right. It was somebody else. I'm going, no, it wasn't somebody else. It was the city of Seattle. So, it's like you can deny it all you want. And even if you have proof that they're lying, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they are the city. And the city sued me for $2.5 million.
For what?
For cutting brush without their permission.
Which is, the fact is, also explain.
Well, and people are over the top environmentally, sensitive in this city. There's only one thing that they love more than dogs are trees. And you cut a tree and, you can't do that. I deliberately had an arborist cut the tree because I had the head horticulturist for this whole south end told me to cut the 2 trees. Told me. Because the city was dealing with suits on cottonwood limbs falling on people or near people. So I had a recording. I figure I'm confident. I went to trial. I didn't even need an attorney because I was so knowledgeable about the laws, and I record, as my professor said, John, record everything. So I get to trial, overly confident, and you got the city denying and lying and denying and lying. And I said, well, I'd like to introduce these tapes. And they said, no, I couldn't introduce the tapes that stated for me to cut the trees. So they sued me for what amounted to about $2.5 million. And then King County took away my permit with them, and they sued me. They figured, well, if we sue him for millions, then he's going to say, I'm sorry, I'm leaving town. But no, I'd been waiting for them to sue me. Because if they sue me, it doesn't cost me any money. Yes, it costs the taxpayers about $500,000. And that's what I planned. I planned to cost the taxpayers and the city of Seattle budget as much as possible. And I drug it out. 2 court cases, both simultaneously, the largest law firms in the state. 2 court, King County and the city of Seattle, both sued me.
Mm-hmm.
I was ready for it. They would send, a delivery people, which costs a lot of money. Costs a lot of money to produce one piece of paper. And I just, if they sent me, 50 pieces of paper with a delivery person, a summons or something, I gave him 100 more back. Didn't matter. Didn't cost me any money, just time and energy to write up these writs and answer these things. So,
but
it cost the taxpayers of Seattle probably $1 million in the 2 suits and the restoration, what they call, Ron Sims says, restoration. And I plan on continuing. I have continued for the last 2 years to cost the taxpayers and the city of Seattle budget as much money as I can. And that's that program that I'm putting flyers on the antique lampposts of Seattle, because it's legal to put it on there. It's legal to remove them.
But what's your rationality when you do so? When you say I'm costing as much money from City of Seattle and the tax money on this project, you're not the one that costing the money of the taxpayers. You're the one
I'm doing
defend
just
yourself.
just as much as a graffiti artist, just as much as a graffiti person paints the city or burns the city or whatever.
But as a future leader, though, I would put it in a different way, because I, don't think that you are the one costing the tax dollars and making the city trouble. It's the city who supposed to listen to an elder like you, the truth about a very, very important point, respect the culture, respect, the dead.
Go ahead, take a picture if you want. There's
right?
the cemetery.
Here we go. Now we're entering the cemetery. What I mean is that when you put in the words as if you are making trouble, you already bury yourself.
Yeah.
I really don't think you are making trouble. I think you are using your way to try to tell the city that, hey, there's something very important. You deny it.
I don't want to get in an argument
Right?
about the whole esoteric of how do I make the city pay. Okay. So this is the cemetery.
This is the cemetery. Okay, we're gonna
This is
take a walk.
This is the cemetery.
Yeah. These are
These
the houses.
houses are all on top of the
These
cemetery.
the 11 houses you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, that's the 11 houses we're gonna walk through. Now, what about this babyland?
That's Babyland.
These are the babyland. Okay.
Okay. This
These
goes.
are the houses about the babyland.
This
Got
goes.
it.
Do you see this little spot in the middle?
Yep.
That is a survey marker underneath there,
Yep.
underneath the thing. And right, that person's fence over there, they're Chinese. I've been in their house. I've talked to them.
We'll talk
And
to
they
them.
tell me all kinds of stories that happened to them.
Well,
And from that
I
fence,
love to connect with them. 5955. Okay, we're gonna walk and talk to people.
I got all their names and numbers,
Yeah.
etc.
It's nice to start to broadcast it and record it, and then you want the world to hear about Mr. John Dickinson. What is the passion of Mr. John Dickinson? Why Mr. John Dickinson want to run for the state representative of District 37? And what are the key projects that Mr. John Dickinson is about to do in Washington State? That's what I want to support you to get the voice out, because for too many years, people are not listening to you. I listen, and I believe that these are critically important points that, Washington State people really need to understand what
trees.
went wrong.
Big trees, eh?
Yeah.
So from
What has
right
gone wrong?
here, all the way to the end,
Yep.
is the cemetery.
Got it. Got it.
And you go down.
So it's
like
on
I
the
say,
right
this-
side of the street is a cemetery. Left side is not cemetery, right? Got it.
And half of
Okay.
this street.
Oh, half the street is also
Half
cemetery.
of the street
Okay.
is in the cemetery.
Got it. Okay, so we are now basically about to enter the cemetery and do a walk. Okay. I will pause right here.